and it's so fantastic that we still have some music for the bass that it's like it sounds brand new to us. There's so many good things like happening right now for the bass. There's a lot of people that's doing great music out there. Like I don't know, like I'm gonna go for my country. So we have Simon Garcia, that he's a great composer, and I don't know, a lot of people out there that they're doing great things for the bass. And but also we have to look back at what we have and still doing the work and putting those pieces again in the big public.
This is a different kind of episode, and I really hope you enjoy it. I'm Jason Heath. This is Contrabass Conversations, and we're talking today with Daniel Chiva Sanz. Dani Chiva is a wonderful composer and orchestrator now at this point. He just orchestrated and recorded the double bass concerto number 2 by Finn Dyson. I always am confused. Findeisen. I got to work on my pronunciation. But regardless, we get into Findeisen's compositions, his etudes, how this work was lost in a fire, leaving this bizarrely challenging piano reduction. So Dani talks about that. We talk about his orchestration process, the compositional style of Finn Dyson, how this concerto might become one of the most popular bass concertos in the future, and much more. There's a lot in this episode for sure, folks. And Dani plays a whole heck of a lot, which I really love. I've always kind of meant to have podcasts with more bass playing. This may become more of a thing in the future, but wow, really cool. I'm working on a video version of this with some score samples that's not done yet, but hopefully coming soon. So really hope you enjoy it. Quick shout out to our sponsors, Dorico, Ear Trumpet Labs, and Modacity. More on them in a bit, but let's dig into this conversation with Dani Chiva. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
We meet at last. How's it going?
Yeah, pretty good.
Wow. So where are you living these days right now? I know you said that you're going to be headed to the Frost School. Where are you right now again?
So I'm in Louisiana, in Southeastern Louisiana University. That's where I'm getting my master's right now.
Nice.
So I'm in my last semester. Do you hear me well?
Yeah, you sound fantastic. Is your who is the bass? Is that where who's teaching bass there? Remind me, I'm blanking.
Dr. John Madeir.
Okay, great, cool, wow. You've been there 1 year, 2 years? How long have you been there so far?
This is my second year here, so I'm in my last semester of my master's.
Okay,
and it's fantastic here.
Wow.
Like I love the school. Like it's a small school, but the good thing about small school is like most of the time when you go to a big school, you're fighting to find like practice rooms, everything. So wherever I want to practice in an auditorium, boom, I got it.
Oh, that's great.
They give us all the opportunities. We are like whatever we want to do. Like for example, we have a beautiful thing. It's called recital hour. So basically, you can play whatever you want to play. If you're practicing Bottesini, they put you a pianist, you rehearse, and you perform in front of an audience, because most of the undergrads are like supposed to be there because it's a class. So you have an audience of like a regular from 50 people to 70 people watching you. That's actually pretty good for a bass recital.
That is. We had that where I went to school at Northwestern in Chicago, and it was called Convocation. This is going back 25 years at this point or something like that. But I remember playing for some of those, and it was cool to have that sort of regular thing.
And right now I'm working like I have the first I'm gonna have the first rehearsal coming next week. Like we're gonna touch base with the Findeisen. That's gonna be fantastic. Did I send you the score?
I have it. You sent me everything. Thank you so much. It's really cool. And that clip you put up on Facebook of you playing through some of the string crossing stuff. What a cool piece.
Yeah, I think like with this piece, I don't know if you're familiar with this the etudes by Findeisen. They are crazy, like so all this craziness become a concerto, and that's what this concerto is, and that's what I love it. And nobody even knows about it. Like I'm the first one, like almost the first one who ever got in touch like with the score.
How did you find out about it? Because I had no idea that the only thing I know about is it Finn Dyson? Is that how you pronounce his name? Or
yeah,
okay,
I think
Finn Dyson,
so.
I'm not sure. All I know is those were the International Music Edition etudes that I would take out and I would look and I'd practice them and I'd get depressed at how bad I was and I'd put them away.
Me too. Yeah, I got I think there's 4 books, and the edition is divided in 4 books. I think it was like one day we were in class, with I was in class with Dr. Madir, and he was like, I want to give you something crazy. Like, I had like this book, like from when I was doing my master's, I think, something like that. And he handed me the book, and I had the same feeling. Like, open the book, first etude, like a lot of sharps, a lot of flats. And I was like, oh my God. And I was like, I did a little bit of research, and I found out the Romantice suite, that's the duet with the violin. That's actually a pretty cool piece. Like, it works perfectly, and it's a fantastic piece. And I only found one recording of it, like some performance on YouTube, but it was not a big thing. And the music, it's fantastic. And I started doing a little bit more of research on that. Like, who is this double bassist that writes this super difficult music? And I find the first concerto, and I listened to there is a double bass player. She had like a beautiful recording with orchestra of the first concerto, and I was like, okay, this is cool. And I found out the second one, and say like, this is gonna be even cooler. And nobody has ever, like, there is no recordings, nothing about it, just the score. And that's where I started working on it.
Wow. What a great find. Isn't it cool that there are pieces like that out there at that level that have kind of fallen through the cracks? Who was Finn Dyson anyway? What do you know anything about his background? All I think about is those crazy hard etudes and those books whenever. Yeah.
So I did I'm finishing my master's, and I'm doing my thesis, and also we have to do a practicum. So I'm doing both of those based on Findeisen. So I'm doing my practicum. So a couple of months ago, I started working on the orchestration of the piece, as the parts were lost. So basically, Findeisen was born, I think, I'm gonna be wrong, but at the very end of the in 18th century, and something like in the he went to different schools in Germany. He studied with Simandl, and he was trained in all this music from the very beginning of the 20th century, really influenced with Wagnerian music. And he was playing he was an orchestra professor, and also teacher for his really short life, because he lived 64 years. And basically, he participated 2 times in Bayreuth, in the Bayreuth Festival in 1914 and 1924. And so he has most of his music best published in CF Smith publisher. So it was a small publisher that published basically all his works, a lot of works for viola. And the publisher closed it around the 1950s, and was sold to a different person. So all the files were moved to a different location, and most of a lot of the copies were lost. And so Finn Dyson was playing for Leibniz, an orchestra in Leibniz, and teaching there too. So what happened is the orchestra parts for this concerto were supposed to be in that orchestra, in the archives of that orchestra, but everything burned down in the Second World War. So there's no copy of the orchestra parts that actually existed. Like, if you go to Smith, the publisher they bought the publisher 10 years ago. Someone bought the publisher and started restoring all the documents that there are left. So it opened in 2011, I think. And they did a catalog in next year, and the orchestra parts are lost. The only thing we know is that it was orchestrated for chamber orchestra. That's the only thing we know. And so far, that's what I did. I orchestrated for a small orchestra, and with I want 2 stands of first violins, 2 stands of each. Just one of each on the winds, like one flute, one oboe, one clarinet, one bassoon, trumpet, French horn, trumpet, and trombone. Mm-hmm. So small orchestra for big music, because there's a lot of music in this concerto. Yeah. So that's all we know. Like, we don't know a lot about him. Like, I think there's an article in the ISB, in Bass magazine, in 2005 or 6 about Finn Dyson. Mm-hmm. And in the first sentence, it says, we don't know a lot about his biography. Like, there is no reference. And that's it. Wow. That's all we know.
Okay. Wow. It's so cool that you've been researching this. That's great. And that you've unearthed this piece. And so the score, was it a piano? I know you said, I have it here, but I don't have it open in front of me. Is it a piano reduction score then that was left? And
yes.
And so you had to flesh out the orchestration out of that. Got it.
Yeah. If you take a look on the piano score, I remember when I think it was last semester, and I was playing a different piece with a pianist, a really good pianist. And I said, like, oh, I have this piece that I want to play for my recital or for my practicum, and show him the piano part. And he was like, no, no. Because I think that's one of the reasons that nobody plays this concerto, is that it's not meant to be played with piano.
Yeah.
It's one of, if you hear the first Finn Dyson concerto, the first thing you notice is this is more a classical way of orchestrating a concerto. Mm-hmm. So it's like melody on the soloist and an accompaniment, like a little bit with some counter melodies or something like that. But whenever it came to see, if you see the piano score, it's the piano lines is like, what is this? It looks like a piano concerto, because most of the time it's the bass line and 3 other melodies flying around.
Very Wagnerian.
So that's
Yeah.
And that's where I think that is one of the reasons, well, probably because technically it's kind of challenging in many different ways, and we can talk a little bit about that later, but it's when you see the piano score, it needs to be extended. It has so many different melodies that can work. They're meant to work as in chamber music. It's whenever I started this process of orchestrating, because what happens when you find this big piece and you have no reference, you have to make a method to how to work with that. And I'm so grateful that I have Dr. Madir with me all the time, and also Dr. Steven Suver. He's the composing faculty here in Southeastern. He was helping me like with all this process all the time, making sure that the score was as accurate as possible and making sense with what Finn Dyson will try to make, because we'll never know. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe sometime we'll find the score, but we try to articulate all the phrasing and be as accurate as the score was. And we started to tear this concerto apart, looking for different phrases, looking for all the musical ideas that we can bring from it. And it's been such a long process. I've been working since this, like, I started a month before Christmas break. I worked so hard on Christmas break and to have the score ready. And right now it's so good that I'm gonna be able to perform it.
And when are you performing it again? Remind me. That's coming up, isn't it?
Yeah, we have the first rehearsal coming next week, and it's gonna be, as we have winds involved and everything, and it can, like, we cannot have an audience. So what we are gonna do is that we are gonna do a good recording of it, and it's April 14. Wow. So the video will need a little bit of time, but I think by the end of April the video is gonna be out.
I am so proud to have my course with Discover Double Bass, Beginner's Classical Bass, out in the world. This was a long time coming, friends, and this course is designed, as the name implies, for beginner bassists who want to learn how to play classical music, or for more experienced players who wish to revisit the foundations of technique. The course is comprised of 66 lessons over 4 hours and covers a wide range of topics on classical bass, which will make a real difference to you playing. It is the perfect course for beginners. I feel weird saying that since it's my course, but I definitely believe in it, to build a solid foundation of double bass technique and to help you feel confident playing. Many of the lessons include transcriptions of the pieces, exercises, and etudes, so you have everything you need to practice at home. I spent hundreds of hours putting this together over the last few years. I'm so glad to see it out in the world. We have a link to it in the show notes, or just visit discoverdoublebase.com/Jason Heath. This episode is brought to you by Dorico, and one of the things that attracted me so much to this app is the beautiful user interface. Here's Daniel Spreadbury, Senior Product Manager on how they thought about designing this user interface.
It was building on that idea of having everything in its place and a place for everything, basically, and not just throwing everything at the screen and hoping that you'd be able to find your way through it.
I have become a true fan of Dorico. I have the full version. I use it every single day. I use it in my lessons. I use it for... I have become such a fan of Dorico. I use it every single day. I use it in my lessons. I use it for making arrangements and exercises and everything like that. There is a free version, SE, Dorico SE, and you can do everything practically that the full version of the software lets you do. So if you're doing arrangements for a student, duets, or anything like that, or exercises, that is perfect for you. Dorico.com will take you to their page on Steinberg's website, and I can't say enough good things about them. Thank you so much for sponsoring the podcast.
Oh, I can't wait to check out the completed. It's going to be so cool to get into that first rehearsal with the orchestra, the orchestration you've recreated or created, I guess. You know, how cool those first notes are going to be.
It's been cool. Like, I'm working with one of my colleagues here. He's a bassoon major, but he's also getting a conducting lesson. So he's my colleague. He's going to conduct that. And we were working the other day with the score, like trying to figure out the best like ways to put this together with the orchestra. And only like playing with, like, I was playing and he was conducting me, only doing that, it was like so cool.
Wow.
You want to hear a little bit of it?
I would love to. You've got all your gear set up and everything. I would absolutely love to. I was totally into that clip you put up on Facebook. So yeah, I'd love to hear some, please.
So I'm gonna start from the beginning, and it starts with a short orchestra introduction. And in that introduction, like, you're going to see like most of the themes that they're going to reappear, not only in the bass line, but later on, everything is on it. Like, most of the harmonic movements are on it. So it starts with kind of like a cadenza feeling to later go like more in expressivo section. So it starts it goes pretty hard from the beginning.
Okay.
That's the first.
Wow,
the first
that
phrase.
is amazing. Wow, that's just the first phrase. That is such a cool piece. That is not an easy piece.
No, it's not.
That reminds me of those etudes we were talking about.
Yeah, and what I love about him, like, everything, it's notated so accurate that everything is like playing Ravat music. Mm-hmm. Like, you have everything. It looks so difficult, but he's so deep in the theory, in the technique, that all these crazy shifts, they land so good. Like, for example, every time he writes like slurs in the score, is because he wanted to, like, he was really into like doing the technique of four like open positions down here. Like, for example, and so everything that is slurred, it has to be in the same position. Let me get my pedal to turn the pages. And all of that, it's kind of a cadenza, but later is in the next phrase is where you get all the, if you can pull out the orchestra score, is where all the fun begins. So it's when, because here you have the orchestra or piano, it gives like all the like downbeats and a little bit of harmonization, but it comes whenever it gets to the melodic part. If you see the orchestra part, it has flute flying around, oboe. So the tempo, I made it like, it indicates tranquillo. So let's get really tranquillo.
it's incredible. It's incredible music. It's interesting because you're playing it beautifully, and then also I can see that it's written for the bass. It's not easy. I could tell that. Just what you obviously could tell that, but I can also see that it does sit on the bass in a way that is friendly, right? You can tell that someone with a deep knowledge of the bass wrote it. It's really gorgeous. It reminds me sort of almost. I'm thinking Corn Gold. I'm thinking some other violin pieces. Just that sort of ornate, lush character of it. It's lovely music.
I love how, like, my practicum, I'm talking about the orchestration in my practicum article, but also in the paper that I'm writing for my thesis, I'm writing about the harmony of this concerto, because what you can hear from the melody, everything goes really smoothly to different keys, but the melody is also beautiful. But I love how he's going through like different keys that really land in so many places that they're really good for the bass. Like, for example, if you take the first phrase, so he's going in D major, like he's starting the concerto in D major with rum ba bum, to later go to E minor. It's really, there are two tonalities that are really far away. It lands like what is going to E minor, because he does it works in the bass, but it's so far from D major. So he does like that kind of movement. So later, for going to E minor, he goes to F sharp, F sharp 7, like it does all the part. So it's, for known basses, it will sound like a crazy kind of turning in the keys. But why, that's the point of my thesis, and why he's doing all that stuff. Because, for example, in the first part, he's going to F sharp, because we have that F sharp in the solo tuning, and he wants to be that powerful. And whenever I was talking to other professors about the harmonies of this concerto, it's like, why is he going to these places? It's like, because it lands really good on the bass.
Wow, it's so interesting. Such interesting writing.
Oh yes. And I love how each part, even though it looks to me like a Wagner piece, because it has all these different characters flying around with not leitmotifs, because I don't think he's working with leitmotifs, but so many ideas that come back, and they're like giving a lot of consistency to the piece. Like, for example, in the next phrase, there is a figure that appears all the time that is this reaching a high note through like triplets, like moving chromatically through triplets. Like, for example, this, it goes to a slow part again, and it goes something like, it indicates molto cantabile, and it's kind of slow, but also has a lot of action and tension. Like, I'm gonna play it for you.
What fun. You're making me want to go learn this piece, but I also know I have my work cut out for me because it's so incredibly challenging. But it really, the resonance that you're getting, just the way that he writes, just using the harmonics and the open strings like that, it just creates this sonic texture that is so, it's really enjoyable to listen to, and just lots of levels to this piece.
Yeah, it's so well written. Like, I think this was one of the last pieces he wrote, and you can tell that whenever I listen to the first concerto, it reminds me like a more romantic version of a Botticini concerto. But when I listen to this, I really listen to how he was in the first part of the 20th century, like in Germany, like all the German tradition that is going here with Strauss and all that music I hear. Because you see, like, there's some cadences, but he arrives like with all these high points, but it's not the end of the phrase. That's really Wagnerian. So when you said like, okay, cadence, no, there's still like one more minute of music. And I think that's something we don't have, like in the double bass repertoire, like a big concerto with technically really challenging but also well written and also musically attractive for its complexity and harmony. Like that's one of my lacks in the like mainstream double bass repertoire.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the major bass concertos, say what you will about them, but the certainly harmonic variety isn't like real great. And Kusevitsky or you pick your piece. It's the writing in this is so interesting. Well, how long is this in total, beginning to end?
I'm guessing like something like a little less than 20 minutes.
Okay.
So it still has some parts. I'm gonna skip this middle part. It's kind of a recapitulation of the same theme with a little bit more expressivo quality, but it goes whenever you read. So this concerto right now you can only buy it in the new version of the Smith publisher and also by Probase. That actually want to tell you that it's the music, the orchestration is going to be available in Probase. Like after the performance, I'll work a little bit more on the score, and it's going to be published by Probase. I'm really thankful about that. So probably in a couple months we'll have like available version for everyone who is interested in this piece. And I'm guessing there's going to be some bases there that they want to get the challenge of playing this.
This episode is brought to you by Ear Trumpet Labs. They make an incredible mic for upright bass called the Nadine, and 6-time Grammy-winning jazz bassist and former Contrabass Conversations guest, Christian McBride, is a big fan. Christian says, as an acoustic bassist, it's very important for me to have this instrument amplified as naturally as possible. What I love about this microphone is that it makes the instrument sound exactly how I hear it in my head. Honestly, I don't know if you can get a better review than that. The Nadine is an instrument-mounted condenser mic with an incredibly clear, natural sound and great feedback rejection. Ear Trumpet Labs is offering a free t-shirt with mic purchase from their website. Just visit www.eartrumpetlabs.com/contrabass to claim yours and learn more about Nadine. One of my favorite features in Modacity is the deliberate practice mode, the improve button. And here's Mark Gelfo from Modacity on how this works.
Yeah, deliberate practice is a very simple loop. Perform, reflect, plan, perform again. And what we have in the app is a simple button, the improve button. And we walk you through this. You record yourself performing, test a strategy that you think will work to improve it. And then, you try that strategy. If it works, and we save it for you and you get to practice it later. If it doesn't work, you keep testing stuff until you find what does work. That's deliberate practice in a nutshell.
You can learn more about my favorite practice app and get a special deal on lifetime membership by visiting modacity.co/CBC. And thank you, Modacity, for sponsoring the podcast.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of interest in this, and definitely, let me know when that gets published. I definitely will spread the word about that. What is the endurance like on this piece? I mean, you're a fantastic bass player, but like, are you destroyed by the end of this piece? I know that there are some pieces for other instruments, like that Prokofiev cello. He didn't really write a cello concerto, but that beastly hard Prokofiev piece, people are wiped out after that. How are you after playing through it? Are you you? Is it like a marathon or?
It's kind of tiring for sure, but I loved it that they're like he was really aware of what he was writing, because if you see like after all these parts that I already played for you, there's a short tutti, but the most interesting part, like when I think that Finn Dyson figured out that this was going to be tiring to play, it comes right before the last part, because you come from this andante section that it's starting more mentally, because you have to be aware of all the layers in the melody that are going on. But if you check the next section, that everything is covered with 18 notes. So that part, it's really hard to play. I'll play it later for you because there is some interesting technical thing that they're so cool. But if you go right before the molto allegro quasi presto, that it's the last section, that's a video I put on Facebook. Like there's a section that it's really technical, really tiring, but he writes like tiny small section where everything is harmonics. So you have a short tutti. So I think he was thinking, oh my God, if I play everything through and boom, straight to the 16 notes and all the changing, I'm gonna arrive to the end and I'm like, I'm gonna be dead. But
yeah, right.
That was a really good question, and he really like he writes some like after a really difficult passage. It goes like something like. So all harmonics, slow cadence. The calm before the storm. You have a little bit of time to chill. Yeah, because that was something that we've been trying to like avoid with Dr. Madir and I. We were working on how to arrive as fresh as possible to the end of the piece, because it's so like the melodies, you have a whole page of one melody that has no breaks. So try to find where to lower a little bit the pressure and everything. And I think that can be seen in the if you go to the allegro leggero, that's part where this is. It comes from something that's really slow, andante molto, sounds something like that. So it leaves you hanging.
Wow. Yeah, it really does. It's lovely phrasing. Just wonderful. Wonderfully played,
after
too,
that,
I might add.
it calm storm again. So this is for me, the next part, it's one of the most beautiful writing I've ever found out, like in the double bass repertoire. Like if you go to Hertel, like the sonata, Hertel sonata, it reminds me a little bit to that, because everything fits so good and it's so fast. So in the first movement of that sonata, there's a passage that it's all it reminds me a little bit of this because all the techniques that he's using. And here you can see a lot, like it took me a while to figure out fingering, and I started going to the technical books and see ways to figure out how I was going to be able to do all the slurs and everything. And the solution was the open position with the open position and thumb position, like doing you're going to see a lot of this open fingering with all whole steps. That actually came to my mind because the time I was practicing this, I was doing the Tao of the bass, the Marcus Machado bass, and that helped me a lot because all the influence and everything that to be able to play this, it was in that book, like to get the endurance, get the technique, and that's where I got most the ideas for my fingers. So it prepares the phrase, but with a slow part, but later it gets to the craziness. Page. But it's crazy, but everything after I found the fingering, it works. Mm-hmm. You see, like what I was talking about, the open. So whenever it gets to, it's also about how flexible you can get with your thumb position, and for whenever it comes to. Is that movement is not really common to go. That super open shift that if not, like you'll have to do like a really fast shift. But Findeisen.
Yeah, it's nice. You're like You're staying in position, and there's some stability.
So I got that when I got to visit revisit the etude, and he was doing a lot of that technique, like. So it's crazy until you figure out a way to unblock all this, and it's what I think the name of the exercise in the Tao of the bass exercise is the bridge, the one where you put the flat finger. So that's what I use for the. all this part, and it's so crazy. So that he wrote this part right before going into the very end. That it's the crazy part, but everything lands on a good tonality. After a lot of craziness, you have a harmonic that brings you back to tuning. Because I don't know if you have this problem whenever you study something in orchestra tuning and you go to solo tuning and you're lost in the chromatisms and everything.
Oh yeah, I can't. It drives me crazy. I feel like I'm on a different planet or something.
And
gravity's all
I don't know, like here there's a lot of times it ever happened to you, like you're playing something and you stop and say like, I'm playing it in orchestra tuning. It happens to me all the time. But it has this part, like it goes to the ending with that crazy part that it reminds me a part of one of Rabat pieces that has also I think it's Breathe or another one, but everything lands so good. Like it has the very molto allegro part. It has like all this crazy repeated notes, but whenever it comes to the string crossing, it's so cool because it's the same pattern, different octaves. So yeah. Same idea, different octaves, and it's a little bit easier than it looks. But it's such a beautiful concerto. Like I can wait for like the big public and the double bass to be able to enjoy it as much as I'm enjoying it myself.
Yeah, well, I can tell you're enjoying it, and I'm enjoying listening to you play through it. And it's so cool that you rediscovered this or discovered this, I guess, and to think that this piece has been out there, and I get, the parts that got lost like you're describing is but it's like a new work for the bass. It's not a new work for the bass, but it's in a sense it is because of your orchestration of this, but I can't wait to hear it with orchestra.
Oh, yes.
I'm totally digging this piece.
It's so fantastic that we still have some music for the bass that it's like it sounds brand new to us. There's so many good things like happening right now for the bass. There's a lot of people that's doing great music out there. Like I don't know, like I'm gonna go for my country. So we have Simon Garcia, that he's a great composer, and I don't know, a lot of people out there that they're doing great things for the bass. But also we have to look back at what we have and still doing the work and putting those pieces again in the big public.
Yeah, well, congratulations on that, and I love the work you're doing on the bass too. I've had such a great time playing your duets that you sent me a few years ago, and I have played those multiple times. They're so lovely and great to play. Aaron Olguin and I played.
Oh yeah,
I think, boy, it was 3 years ago, Danny.
I had the Facebook thing the other day, like 3 years. Oh my god!
But yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy? But I've played those with some of my students here in San Francisco and teaching them that harmonic accompaniment part.
Oh,
the second bass part of the second movement of your duos. I mean,
that was the first thing I wrote about this, about these duets. Like that was the first thing, and after that, I built the other. The other things.
It's one of those things that duo, that piece, that motion. That's one of those things. It's like I never thought to put those notes together that way. I just love that it's such a pretty melody and chord structure that you're going through with that. And it's something that every time I've only done it a couple times because I only have a couple students, but I've said, hey, check this out, look at this, and they're like, oh, their eyes get big and they say, wow. It's been a great piece for just opening people's eyes. So in addition to discovering this incredible concerto and bringing it out into the public eye like this, I can't wait to see what else you continue to write, because I think you've got a great. I'm
working right now. Like Probass is gonna publish also really soon duet I wrote for violin and double bass, and also right now like. As I was working here with some really talented colleagues, I started like diversing a little bit my writing for other instruments. I wrote concerto for bassoon. I wrote a piece for cello and piano. Right now, next month on the May 6th, we're gonna premiere a piece of a concertino wrote for clarinet and strings. But after I've been out of the bass a little bit. I really want to go with a big double bass concerto. Like I have a lot of respect for that because, you know, we have a big tradition of really good double bass concertos, and I want to be as prepared as possible to bring something good to the public. So to bring something special. So I'm doing
I can't
my
wait.
training.
You've got your hands full preparing for this performance on this piece in April. But yeah, keep me posted as you start to dig into that bass piece. And let's have this be the first of many podcasts, Dani. You're awesome. I've been a fan of yours ever since I probably we got connected on Facebook, I'm sure, probably. But one of these days living in the same country now.
And I'm going to San Francisco, I think. I'm going to I'm going this summer. Would you say, like, I was the other day, I'm invited to the Blackburn Summer Festival in the so I'm gonna be in San Francisco in July.
Dani, you rock. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for what you're doing. Isn't Dani a great player? I mean, wow. I want to learn this piece. I must admit, I'm a little intimidated by this piece, but I am going through the bass part and looking at the score, and I am realizing that it is a challenge for sure, but it is doable. Of course, Dani makes it sound easy. Well, maybe not easy, but makes it sound playable, and it is. I highly encourage you to check this out and to check out the work that Dani's doing. We've got links in the show notes, and definitely follow him on Instagram and Facebook. Very cool. Yeah, I do want to do more bass playing on this podcast. I typically don't for a variety of reasons. And you may, if you're a longtime follower, first of all, thank you, or thank you if you're new. But you may have noticed that over the years, I have had less and less bass playing in the intros and outros and that sort of thing. And there's a practical reason for that. That is that anything that even smacks of being connected to a label, even if it's an indie label, even if it's your own Bandcamp release, sometimes, generally not for that, but sometimes it gets flagged by YouTube, but increasingly by Spotify and other platforms, and perhaps even Apple in the future. And it just becomes very complicated. So you can do a podcast and everything can be totally cool, and then the rights could change, or the way that I'm not going to go into it in great detail here, but there's just all kinds of danger in putting out anything. Even I'll tell you, I have even gotten flagged for recording, I kid you not, the Eccles Sonata myself. My recording has gotten flagged because it sounds close to somebody else. So it's just a giant headache. More so on YouTube, but podcasting, the real danger is you can get your entire show pulled from a platform like Spotify, and even if the artist is cool, even if it's really complicated, because I have had indie labels give me permission and it has worked, and then a couple years later, all of a sudden I've gotten copyright, not strikes. Again, I could go way into this, but copyright claims, and it's just a giant headache. So while I would love to feature more music, I don't know. We'll see. But I having someone play like Dani or something like this, I think is super cool. And so hopefully we'll do more of that in the future. And I can't wait to see what Dani is up to. I believe I mentioned this in our chat, but Dani wrote these very cool double bass duets that Aaron Olguin and I played at Andres Martin's double bass event, I believe in 2018. Now, I'm a fan of his compositions. He's written some solo bass music as well. And yeah, just a really interesting person. Can't wait to see what he does in the future. He's got a lot of career ahead of him. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to get in touch, feedback@contrabassconversations.com is the email, and I'd love to hear from you. If you're not on our email newsletter, we got all sorts of good things happening there. You can get on that at contrabassconversations.com/email, or just go to the website. You'll see an email sign-up form. Our sheet music store is over 100 titles and growing. Standard repertoire, new repertoire, bass, solo with piano, bass ensemble, bass technique, all kinds of stuff that has taken off in a way that I never imagined. And you can learn more at doublebassblog.org/music, or again, just go to Contrabass Conversations. I have too many websites, and you'll see a link to that. Contrabass Conversations is produced by Michael Cooper, Steve Hinchy, Mitch Mooring, and Trevor Jones. Mitch makes beautiful basses in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Learn more at his website, mitchmooring.com. I'm your host, Jason Heath, and we will see you again soon for more life on the low end of the spectrum.